Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Amrita and I'm a Dimension 20 fan, and I frequent the Dimension 20 subreddit quite a bit, and recently I've been seeing a lot of tier ranking posts on the subreddit where people have been ranking the 19 seasons for Dimension 20, and I wanted to jump on the trend and make my own post, so that's what we are doing today. Just a disclaimer that my ranking is highly subjective and is purely based on my enjoyment of the shows. Okay, let me explain the tiers. The first tier is The House Always Wins.
And the house
Happens in Vegas.
always
Happens in Vegas.
wins. Nat 20!
Literally the top tier shows, the Nat 20's, Chef's Kiss, Perfection. The second tier is Magic is Real and So Is My Frog.
I'm too comforted by my emotional comfort animal. I feel so supported right now. Magic is real and so is my frog.
These are my ultimate comfort shows. I rewatch them quite a bit and I think about them very often. The next tier is The Ball is Rolling Up.
Guys, the ball is rolling up, all right? This only goes well.
The ball is rolling up.
I just realized that in a world where there's no gravity, the ball going up is unexceptional.
These are shows that I really enjoyed while I was watching them. I was fascinated by them, but I don't find myself thinking about them quite often. The next tier is 3 a.m. in a Warehouse.
Fun. We're having fun.
We're having fun.
We are
We're having a good
fun.
time.
We're not gonna sleep tonight. It's 3 a.m. in a warehouse.
The clip captures my feelings about these shows really well. I enjoyed the shows, I had fun watching them, but there were some parts of the shows that either frustrated me or just couldn't get into some parts of the show. And then the last tier is for Prestige. People care about you.
I wrench him back from the underworld and say,
For prestige, people care about you.
These are shows that I haven't watched, and while I was thinking about this video, I considered watching all the shows before making this video. Then I realized I would end up spending hours and hours watching these shows just to get internet points so that people won't yell at me. But I don't know if that's how I want to spend my time. I could spend it with my friends, or I could catch up on other content that I'm more excited about. So, I'm just admitting that I haven't watched these shows yet. And that's okay, I'll make my way to them eventually. Okay, let's rank the shows. The first show is Misfits and Magic, very solidly in the comfort category. Everything about this show is so wholesome. I love the characters. Evan Kelp is my favorite character of all time. I love the system, I love the execution, I love the arc for each character and their arc as a group. It's just such a good show. I rewatch clips of it all the time. Next up, we have The Seven. This can go in either 3 a.m. in a warehouse because I could not get into the show, but that's unfair because I did not finish the show. And I think it was more of a timing thing that I couldn't get into it. So I think I'm going to put it in for Prestige. People care about you for now because I do plan on watching the whole season. So I'm going to mark it as unwatched for now. Shriek Week, also haven't watched it yet. Starstruck. It's a top tier show. Everything about this show is so good. Again, the system, the world that they were playing in, all the characters. This is also one of the seasons that they were the most serious about, and I think they talked about it in one of the adventuring parties, where because the world was so chaotic, they had to be the serious elements in the world, finding out what your personal strengths are and playing to those strengths, like Allie's banking roles during combat, or the plinth fight where you not only play to your strengths but your strengths as a group. It's a top tier show for sure. Next up, we have Coffin Run. Haven't watched it yet. Faye and Flowers, also a very comfort show. Zero combat and yet such an engaging story. Like, I think this was my first exposure to a game that was purely story based and just a delightful experience to watch, and kind of opened up my mind to the possibility of a narrative driven story that doesn't need combat. So yeah, delightful experience. Never After is the opposite of 3 a.m. in a warehouse. I am not a horror person, so I had mentally prepared myself not to enjoy the season as much, but I ended up enjoying it way more than I expected, so I think it goes in The Ball is Rolling Up. Next up is Fantasy High. I mean, again, an ultimate comfort show, the place where it all began, a very interesting take on D&D. Before watching Fantasy High, I was very into Critical Role, so that was like my worldview of how D&D and RPGs work, and then Fantasy High kind of broke that mold in my brain for me and then helped me find other vibes for the game that I have been experimenting with my own characters. So yeah, a very special game for sure. Next up, we have Escape from Bloodkeep. I think I'm gonna put this in The Ball is Rolling Up. I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but it's not a show that I think about very often, but it's still a fun show. Unsleeping City, my absolute favorite Dimension 20 show. I made a whole New York City vlog based on this show. That's my favorite video I have ever made. And to prepare for the video, I've rewatched this show so many times. I've almost memorized the show. And yet I can't get enough of it, and it's still one of my frequent rewatches. Next up, we have Tiny Heist. Haven't watched it. Crown of Candy is very squarely in the 3 a.m. in a warehouse. I loved the premise, I loved the characters, I loved the heartbreaking moments, but I was so stressed watching the show. The cast has also talked about how stressful filming the show was. That's definitely a 3 a.m. in a warehouse show. Pirates of Leviathan, I'm going to put that in The Ball is Rolling Up. I don't rewatch it, but I have really good memories of watching it. Dimension 20 Live, I'm going to put in 3 a.m. in a warehouse. Loved the story, but the technical aspects of it kind of made it frustrating for me to watch, especially like the layout where they have like a primary screen and then they have the 2 secondary screens and they keep switching between the screens, and it's just like visually overwhelming to keep track of things. So yeah, it's 3 a.m. in a warehouse purely for technical reasons. Next up, we have Unsleeping City Chapter 2. It's a comfort show. I loved how they carried over the characters from season 1 and also introduced new characters. I was kind of not sure how they're going to pull it off because season 1 felt like a complete story. I was very delightfully surprised by how they pulled it off. Mice and Murder, haven't watched it yet. Ravening War is The Ball is Rolling Up. Matt Mercer at the Dimension 20 table was an event that we have all been waiting for, and we were very well rewarded. It was a much lighter tone than Crown of Candy, so even if it was set in the same world and knowing Matt Mercer was at the helm of it, it was still not as stressful as Crown of Candy, and I loved how they struck the balance between retaining the original vibe of the show and the seriousness of the plot while still having fun this time. Dungeons and Drag Queens, such a comfort show. This is now my go-to recommendation when anybody asks where they should start with Dimension 20 or where they should start with D&D in general. I think this show did a very good job of demonstrating new players learning the game. I loved how patient Brennan was with the players and explaining all the rules. I'm also in awe of the players and how creative they got. Like, it is just like a masterclass in introducing new players to the game, being patient with new players and letting them make creative choices and take creative risks and fail forward, and prioritizing fun at the table. And then my new favorite, Mentopolis. This show, so grateful for this show, which is a weird thing to say for a D&D show, but I'm finding myself being more gentle and compassionate with myself. And the whole thing of spoilers, Conrad accepting Madame Losing as she is because she's part of the big guy's brain and all parts of him are important. Like, it's just making me rethink my relationship with my feelings and being more kinder to myself. This is helping me, be nice to myself. That's my final ranking. I feel good about this. This feels right. I would love to know how you would rank these shows. Let me know in the comments down below. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.